Well, the first bit's a bit ad lib, I have to say. I mean,
Just go for it.
Yeah. So, may I call you Judi first
I'd be
of all?
furious if you didn't.
Thank you. This is surreal for me, I have to say. Really surreal, because just having grown up with all your finest productions, now to be sitting on the couch with you and with this cushion, love you to the moon bear and back. This is just really, I'm very honoured to be here. Thank you, and your beautiful
home. Thank you for coming.
I thought I'd start with a smile with us both. Do you remember Burt Reynolds? You remember the actor Burt Reynolds?
Yes.
Yes. Well, in the 70s, he did this pose on a bearskin rug, naked. And apparently it sold out Cosmopolitan magazine overnight because he was just reclining there. But he would never get away with something like that today because he was on a bearskin rug. People would be complaining. Anyway, one of our bears did exactly the same pose, but so much better. And I want to introduce you to Hector. As he reclines with even his hands covering his dignity in the picture.
Oh, that is beautiful. Hector. What a beauty.
Isn't that gorgeous? And we bought you
It's very, very
a silver jasper. There's a silver jasper, which looks gorgeous on black. And a travelling bear, which
my
will bring you
word.
luck whenever you travel.
Oh,
So maybe I'll pop
Jill,
Hector there.
thank you so much.
Well, we just
Look at
wanted
this
to
little bear.
bring a smile to the first part of the interview.
This will be hopeless for sound, won't it?
Gosh, that's so lovely. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
He'd been in a crush cage for 15 years, crushed, flat to the bars of the cage, and then we had him for another 15 years. And how he could be, Peter will remember Jasper very well, how he could be so forgiving after everything that was...
How did he cope with
I don't
suddenly
know.
being that time, and then not being in a cage?
Yeah.
How did he cope with that?
He used to come to the fence line whenever we had media, because he'd just photobomb all the pictures. He just loved an audience. He loved people so much, ultimately, and we'd always get media coming up to us and saying, well, we got some pictures of some of the bears, but there was this bear with yellow eyebrows that just photographed. Exactly. He just took over all the pictures, and he was just a real character, you know. He was very special. So,
Gosh, it teaches us all something.
They do, don't they? They teach us, I think, forgiveness above everything else.
Well,
bears.
Indeed.
Yeah. And I guess...
How long do bears live?
About 30 years in the wild. Yeah. That's if they live that long from the industry, and we keep them going with medication and enrichment and tasty, nutritious food, and they have a good life. They do. But they will die as a result of bear farming. They ultimately will die.
Of course.
As a result of...
Before their natural time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess that brings me into the first question, is just your impression of bear farming and you know, how you feel about groups like ours ending it, really.
It's hard to say. My admiration for the fact that you've gone in and this has been recognised and publicised, and people now know. I didn't know about bear farming. I don't think a lot of people didn't realise that they were farmed for the bile and to do, I think, with Chinese medicine, isn't it? But I had no idea. Yeah. And what is so extraordinary about what you do is the fact that now people, I think, hopefully, think twice about. Yes, and if you take this might be a cure for something. The suffering that the animals have to go through is unspeakable. I saw pictures not very long ago of cages all together with the bear. Well, I don't know. I don't think the bear could turn round in the cage. No. You can't do that to an animal.
Immobilised to take the bile, and unspeakable is the right is the right adjective, I think, because the suffering is perpetual over not years but decades very often. So, but I think you might be surprised to know that, you know, ultimately now in Vietnam the industry is ending, but without any embarrassment or finger pointing, even at the farmers.
Well,
or the
that
government
is a phenomenal thing to hear. That is really so that, yes, that's so that it's a kind of natural, coming naturally to an end.
Yeah.
Well, that is a wonderful thing to hear.
With the buy-in of the local community and the traditional medicine doctors, everybody engaged as one community to bring bear bar farming to an end, to help conservation and welfare as well. So it's...
And what has happened then to the people who say that the bile is essential for a cure for whatever, cancer or whatever? What has happened in that area?
That's a really interesting question, because now we've got doctors in Vietnam saying that the herbal alternatives are equally as good, or perhaps even better as well. And we're actually working with them to produce like a rubbing lotion for topical things like bruises that show the community at large that this alternative absolutely exists. So there's very much hope, and the government are now endorsing that too. So hallelujah for that.
Well,
Yeah.
that's phenomenal to hear.
Yeah.
And also it's terribly important, people, that it's been done in a way without people losing face
Yes,
about it,
exactly
so that it's more an understanding that everybody's come to.
Exactly
That it's
that.
not the way to keep animals,
Yeah.
and it's not worth keeping animals if there is an alternative.
Yeah. And it's just bringing everyone together
Yes.
with us, and encouraging more farmers to give their bears up, because they know that they're not going to be criticised publicly as well. So it's a very holistic strategy,
Yes,
if
it
you
is.
like. So it's working. So yeah. And I guess I want to, one bear touched my shoulder and touched my heart. And I see around your house, I just said to the guys this morning, there's all these animals here and outside in your beautiful garden. And I just want to know your story with animal welfare or conservation. And was there a particular animal that touched your heart? Was there an episode?
Well, I have to start with the fact that when I was small, when I was a child in York, between the ages of 5 and 10, it was the war, I had 16 cats.
Oh, wow.
Because my pa was a doctor and used to, his patients were not only in York, but all around the areas, all the farms and, people living outside the city. And at that time, because of food being so scarce, he used to be given things like, a duck or a chicken or, from their farms. And so we always were terribly lucky and had them. And of course we always had stuff over. So of course cats congregated in our house, and we never pushed them away.
Right.
It's amazing. You should be in this house now, there's not an animal in it.
Yeah.
But that's the first time for a very, very long time that I haven't had animals.
Yeah.
So then you're very, very much aware, and we were very aware as children of animals and the good housekeeping of animals too.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate thing, isn't it, for a family with young children not to have the experience of having a dog or a cat or a mouse or a hamster.
Yeah.
I mean, my grandson, we've had rats and we've had everybody.
It's an empty house, isn't it, without them, I think.
Yes.
You're getting therapy every single day of your life with animals in your life.
And also understanding something different.
Yeah.
And the care for them is terribly
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And if you start, with a child, with a pet, and teach a child those things, I mean, then with any luck, that child will go on all its life to care about the well-being of animals.
100%. There's a story I heard before, that papers out there that said children that grow up that are cruel or even murderous to animals can often grow up to be cruel or even murderous towards people, like serial killers, Jeffrey Dahmer, for example. So you're right, it's like it brings that instinct of inherent compassion, doesn't it, towards animals and our fellow human beings as well.
Kindness.
Kindness, yeah, in action. Yeah, yeah. I know that your partner, David Mills, and he's begun the British Wildlife Centre, which celebrates wildlife across the UK.
Yes.
And I just wondered if you might like to tell us a little bit about that, just about maybe your shared projects or your shared vision for the future.
Yes, he was a dairy farmer, and then he started the British Wildlife Centre, and we used to pass after this. Since Mikey died, we used to pass sometimes the centre, and my passion is otters. I'm mad about otters, and I used to pass with Fint and Sammy, and I used to say, "That man in there's got otters." We used to say to each other, "Oh, that man in there's got otters," and then. Fint and I were taken with some friends of hers to see the red squirrels, which he also had red squirrels. And then I met David, and I said, this is all British wildlife. I said, if there's anything I can ever do to help, do let me know, because it's just wonderful. I mean, seeing young children, as we've just said, if you don't own an animal, then the next best thing is to be able to watch it at close quarters. So he said, would you come and open the red squirrel enclosure? So I said, yeah, I will. So I did.
Oh, that started everything.
And
wow.
It's fascinating. And seeing otters, come out of the water and come up. It's wonderful.
Wow. Wow. And do you have a vision for the future or is it just more of the same, celebrating the wildlife that we have here? And
I just like the bears. My vision is that somehow it spreads.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we're suddenly being made, I hope, more aware of what we're doing to the world and the earth, our earth. I have a terrible vision. We're always seeing pictures of the moon. And the moon in close up, and they say that's a crater, and that was a river, and that chills me to the bone. So, the more we can find out about this earth we live in, the more we can discover about the things that are happening and we are doing to it.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole business, comparatively recently, of plastic being in the sea and fish being found with plastic, and all those, was this about 2-3 years ago, all the fish being found dead up on the shore in, I think, Northumberland, not sure.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
surely
and
that's a warning
seabirds with abdomens full of plastic because it's filling up their tummies, and then they're starving to death because it's just plastic.
And we eat the fish.
And we eat the fish, and
So
it's a vicious circle, isn't it?
it is a vicious circle.
Of our doing.
But it's of all our doing.
Yeah.
But then you get a wonderful bright light, which is the things you're doing, like suddenly the bears being understood for the first time, and not being in cages, and not being imprisoned. We must do the same about the pangolin.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree
unless
more.
we're very careful, I imagine.
You're right, it's understanding them. And I learnt a very long time ago from a wonderful bear keeper who since has died, sadly, Elsa Paulson. And she, when she was looking after her bears, she would ask them 2 questions. Who are you? And what can I do for you? And it's almost like a ripple effect with us in the organisation. When the bears come in after they've been rescued, we look at them, sometimes in their cages, sometimes when we've just got them back at our sanctuary, we just say, who are you? because they're all different. They all have different problems, medical, physical, psychological, everything. And we just need to understand them, first of all, to be able to treat them and celebrate them and then release them into our enclosures, you know, as whole bears again. So it's just part of that ripple of life, isn't it? It's understanding.
They've got some life.
Yeah.
Because being banged up in a cage, you can't even move around in.
Yeah. And even though we know we're going to lose them ultimately, it's just the most joyous thing to be able to know their individual characters and personalities, and to be able to, you know, give them what they need, actually. You know, one might not like a banana, one might not like oranges.
Well,
right? Yeah, like us.
quinoa for me.
Quinoa, there we go. Or tofu.
It's different, completely different personalities.
Yeah, yeah, they are, totally. Some are grumpy, some are happy, some, we'll talk about that in a second with Finty, but I think maybe just one more question, it's just what do you think someone like yourself as a public figure and also working with the media, you know, can do to spread the word about welfare, biodiversity, conservation?
Well, just spread the word about what you do. Just be able to say to people, I mean, you know, just make people aware. I think everybody is aware now, thanks to what you're doing. I think we understand it. You now see programs where you see animals that are caged and kept.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen dogs, haven't we, in markets, endless markets with dogs in cages and.
Yeah. I think I just get a bit impatient sometimes. It's just not soon enough, because there is good news to celebrate, but oh my gosh, I just think for every day that we're on this settee.
That's why we've got to pass it on.
Yeah.
And that's why young people must understand that there's work, there'll be work to be done forever about it.
Yeah.
But that an end eventually, hopefully, will be achieved.
Yeah, it's just connecting them, isn't it? And having them connect the dots, and having things like our Dr. Dog programme that, you know, goes into hospitals and disabled centres and says, I might be just a dog, but here I am sitting with my unconditional love. And you see these kids drawn.
I know.
Without anything else in their field of vision. And you think, that's it, that's the solution. It's just...
Yes, I went to see somebody who was very, very ill and dying, and on her bed was a wonderful big cat who just wanders about and is allowed to jump up and go, well, I can't think of anything nicer. Absolutely. Having this big chap jump up and lie down on your bed beside you. Wonderful comfort, you know. And I'm crazy about cats.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind an otter.
Me too.
And I wouldn't mind a bear.
Right.
I'd say anybody. Just jump up and...
Yeah. You do, like when you come into your...
It's the comfort of it is so wonderful.
It is, isn't it? You come into your front door and you get your 15 minutes of fame. You, as an actress, must know that when your dog comes running up to you, maybe your cat not quite so much, as they go off in the other distance, but it just makes you...
It makes you feel very privileged
Yeah.
when an animal behaves like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are the bear guardian of the most beautiful Finty bear, and
I have a picture.
You've got the picture of Finty.
Oh, my daughter.
Bless her.
I got her and named her after my daughter. She's beautiful.
She's stunning. She's blind. She's a very big female bear. She's 128 kilos, so she's a chunky monkey. And she has quite a story, but before maybe go into that, it's like, just what does it mean to you, Judi, being a bear guardian?
Well, what it means is that, excuse me, I was made aware of the bears by Peter Egan, my friend, and then soon after I thought, and knowing that you could adopt a bear, you know, in my daughter's name.
Yeah.
In fact, I must get round to adopting one for my grandson, Sammy. But then it makes it, you know, it makes it immediately a personal link.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, it's a member of the family. And there she is. She's a nice person, blind, as you say. How old is she now?
Gosh, that's a good question. She must be in her 20s now.
Is she?
Yeah.
And they live for how long?
About 30.
Naturally.
So hopefully she's got a few more years to go.
I hope so.
But she's
got a good friend.
She has. In fact, she had two good friends, but
Good.
she didn't really realise that, because she was put together with these, what we call these two gorgeous old duffers. There was Barack and there was Derek, who was named by Ricky Gervais. And they were special care bears. So they were put into our special care area, what we call the secret garden. And we hope they get on.
When you say special bear, tell me.
Just because they have disabilities.
I see.
So blindness.
I see.
Or Derek was, he had been detoothed. And so he'd had his teeth cut back. And so he had nerve damage on his tongue, and it hung out the whole time. And Barack, the other bear, was exactly the same. So these two old duffers would loll around with each other with their tongues hanging out all the time. But they were happy and healthy with us. They were, they were fine for a couple of years, until Derek, obviously his issues kicked in, and we had to say goodbye to him in May. And up to this point, Finty had kind of been a bit aloof. She didn't really want them in her area. She'd watch them, but she didn't want to get close to them. But after Derek died, Barack started going back into stereotypic behaviour as he had on the farm. So he would weave backwards and forwards because he obviously missed his friend. And at that point, Finty changed. She decided, I do want a bear in my life. And she embraced Barack. And it was the most wonderful thing to see them just like rolling around out in the enclosure. They even stayed out under the stars one night together. And Barack stopped stereotyping at that point as well. And to this day, Finty builds big straw mountains of straw so they can snuggle up together. And it's just lovely to see how she's changed now as well. And yeah, just has a man in her life now, which is really lovely to see.
Oh, Finn would like to see her, meet her.
I'd love you to.
Oh,
Please
me too.
come with Peter. Come
Yeah,
with
okay.
Peter.
We'll all come.
That would be so wonderful. That would be,
Lovely.
yeah. Someone came and said it was food for the soul. And when you come, you'll say, Jill, you didn't tell me it was like this. I promise you. Because it's a magical, magical place. So, at the moment, so just now then, we have 680 bears that we've rescued in China and Vietnam. We have the agreement with the Vietnam government that bear farming is ending, and to build the second sanctuary in Vietnam to rescue the 300 bears. And this is a celebration. It's a celebration of people like you that have stayed with us over these last few years and have spread the word and have given us the confidence, actually, to keep moving forward. Because goodness knows, sometimes it's tough.
Sure.
It's a challenge. So I just want to thank you on behalf of the organisation. And I guess to ask you, what does the end of bear farming mean to you?
I don't know how to put that into words. I expect you should ask the bears. I mean, what a step forward that would be. And is that going to be, how soon is that they're going to be?
Well, the government have said publicly in a press conference in Vietnam, where Peter and Leslie Nichol, our other ambassador, they were both present, and they said by 2026. And they've urged us to build the second sanctuary, to take those bears, and the quicker we do that...
Take the bears that are now still caged.
Yeah, exactly. So we have an end goal now.
That's phenomenal. That is just, well, I don't know how you all feel, because what an achievement.
As you say, it's almost without comprehension, really, because it's our founding goal. It's something we've lived and breathed for the last 25 years to do this, and it's done now. So it doesn't feel quite right to me either.
That takes your breath away.
Yeah.
That really is phenomenal.
Well, it's
That's some
thanks again.
party, isn't it?
And it's thanks again to people like you that have put the word out there. You've embraced it, Judi. You've given us
So
gravitas.
I just joined in what everybody else had started and was doing. But that's a wonderful, wonderful thing to hear. And will you start now with something else?
We are talking about succession into the future, but the real issue is that we need to continue because there is still bear farming, you know, in other places, and also even in Vietnam, we can't let our eye off the ball because we've got to still continue with our public education programs, still working with the traditional medicine community, because it could creep back. So for the next few years at least, we have to really focus on ending it and making sure it stays ended.
What other countries?
There's still, bear farming is phasing out in South Korea. There's a few bear farms in Laos, a few in Burma, Myanmar, and of course in China as well. So we have a big job to do still ahead of us to protect bears in those countries and help them. But Vietnam is a celebration because the government are 100% on board to bring it to an end.
And are they on board as much as they would put it into a school syllabus?
Absolutely. What a great question. 100%. We are working with schools across the garden. We're working with schools across the country to grow the herbal alternatives in the school gardens. So I think there's 45 gardens now that have been set up in schools by children whose parents are very often bear farmers.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Gosh.
And thanks to Tuan Bendixson, I have to say, our amazing Vietnam director, who's just driven this program in that country, working with the government and making sure that promises are kept and that they're completely fired up to build the second sanctuary and get the bears out of the farms. So again, thank you from our heart, Judi, to yours. Honestly,
I'm so pleased to hear
you've
it.
given us respect.
Well
really, you have.
Done you all.
Thank you.
Crikey.
Thank you. And I know that, you know, at this point we have a little film that we want to show you. I don't know if it's set up or it's...
Or if I can see it.
Okay. So we have a film that I hope that you can see, Judi.
I might be able to see.
Or I can hold it.
This might be
Better?
okay.
Or
Thanks,
hold it out.
darling. Yeah.
So it's a film
Is it all right there?
that's really from
Oh
the bears.
yes, I can see. I can see.
I can hold you. I can hold it for you. Yeah, like that.
Thank you.
So.
Animals Asia have had the most wonderful success. They've managed to take many moon bears from a bear bile farm and move them to their sanctuary. I adopted a moon bear, which I called for my daughter Finty. And Finty's moved too, and she's having a better life. Well, I saw the film. I didn't see any of the writing, but I saw the film.
I can send it to you also.
Oh,
for
I'd
you
love
to
it.
Have it in
I'd
your own archive.
love it to have it, Leslie. And then somebody can read it to me.
Dame
Heavenly.
Judi Dench, thank you for being
Oh.
a champion of bears.
Thank you.
Your
Long,
kindness.
long may it go on. Well done, you.
To
Yes.
watch you two discussing bears and kindness and animals just now was absolutely sensational. It was so touching and illuminating and human and kind, and expressing everything I think that is important about animals, animal welfare and kindness.
Well, that's what you've highlighted. And we're lucky if we've kind of caught a bit of that, understand it, and can work for it.
That's lovely. I do remember, I think it was about 2013 at Wet Nose Aid, an award ceremony that doesn't no longer exist, and your partner David was being honoured on that particular session, and we got to talking about Animals Asia and the bears.
Yes.
And I asked you if you would be interested in doing a little kind of thing for the bears, and you said yes, and that was a life-changing thing for moon bears, wasn't it?
It totally was. It was the kindness in action.
Yeah.
You used the word kindness as well earlier, and it was that absolutely changed everything. People
Well-
were going, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, wonderful.
It's
I'm sure there are a lot of people that would do exactly the same. There must be a lot of people. And knowing the results of what you've done, it's phenomenal
you
to
shone,
hear.
you shone a
It is
spotlight, Judy. Thank you. You
It's
totally shone a
wonderful.
spotlight. And Peter, thank you, because without you being our ambassador, and just from the heart, from there, you know, you just do. And you're just about to cry again, aren't you?
I
I
will
can
do.
see. I can
I
tell.
think about bears and I cry. I
Yeah.
can't, it's impossible. But I would like to say how honoured I feel, and I'm not flanneling when I say this, to be sitting between two women who are so inspirational that I admire so much.
Oh, Peter, it's mutual.
Thank you.
Gosh. This is surreal for me to be in the company of you both. Honestly, it's surreal.
Wow,
It's.
that's lovely.
I will be
Yeah,
smiling
lucky,
about
aren't
this, not for weeks, months, years. I will.
I'll
Truly.
be smiling all the way home.
And oh, here. Jasper.
Jasper, photobombing again.
Jasper.
It's all about Jasper.
Yes, and it would be wonderful if at some point you could visit one of the sanctuaries, because certainly, when most people leave their heart in San Francisco, I left my heart in Chengdu, in China, when I first visited the sanctuary there. It was just breathtaking, and I think there were about 120 bears there at the time. And just to walk through this how many acres is it?
32.
32 is it all? Felt much bigger than that. And going through the whole series of enclosures and seeing these magical, funny bears, these wonderful, forgiving creatures that just are so curious, and some will come up to the side and say, what's that? Or some completely ignore you. And I fell in love with the place. I fell in love with bears. So thank you, Animals Asia.
Thank you, Peter.
Yes, thank you, Animals
Yeah.
Asia.
Please come, Judy. We'd love to see you on
I'd love
site.
to.
We'd so love to see you. I remember Leslie and I were just in stitches watching Barry, that she called Bazza, and Choo Choo. Like, they must have been about 60 years old between them. And they were rolling around like two old sumo wrestlers in slow motion, because they were so old and doddery. They couldn't do it quickly. And we were just in absolute stitches. And you just get that. And then you get the youngsters bouncing all around. And
And the fantastic baby bears having their foam bath.
oh, yeah,
What's,
bubble baths.
Bubble
yeah.
bath. Ah,
Yeah.
breathtaking.
Yeah.
Beautiful.